22nd year. Correct. Let's see actually if I can get. Nick has had this idea. So his idea is CT right. Obviously, welcome back, folks. Sorry to disappoint, it's the same voice. Hopefully we'll have some cameos from some real tennis identities. The second semi-final here of the Real Tennis Champions Trophy. Second year of this event. Last year's winner, of course, was Camden Riviere, who beat Ben Matthews in that final. And we've just seen a replay of that event in the first semi-final. Ben could probably count himself unlucky not to have had a 2-1 lead in the last match, but Camden did what he frequently does, exploited all the opportunities that were available to him, and disposed of Ben in 4. Introduction needed or not here. We've got the reasonably newly crowned world champion, world number 2 at the server's end currently, Rob Fahey. And expect to hear plenty of cheering for his opponent today, Chapman, world number 3 recently also. Recently also to that ranking, I should say. And the home pro here at Royal Tennis Club, within the confines of Hampton Court Palace, Chapman. Rob got here by virtue of a win over Ben Matthews, making it sound like Ben's a whipping boy. And Chris got himself past just showing my brilliant grasp of this this tournament. John Lumley, yes. You're right the first time. Mark again, Adam Phillips. He's had a sit down, a refreshment, and a bite to eat, I think, after that last match. Threatened to go to 5 sets in this extraordinary UK heat. We'll be glad that it didn't, but we could be in for a longish one here today. This one. Person who was correct about it being John Lumley in the quarterfinals was my co-commentator, at least for a little while in this match, Nick Jones, standing next to me. Afternoon, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks, Jed. How do you see this one going?
You just jump straight in there with all the difficult questions, don't you? This co-commentary thing works like this. You ask the soft questions to start with, and then once we've got a bit of a rapport and whatever, then you get to ask me the difficult questions. I'm gonna probably go against what most people think, and I'm gonna pick Chappers on this one. I think he's he's had a look at Camden. He lost to Camden in the sort of the repechage. No, that's the wrong word. The sort of the pre-qualifiers for these semi-finals, and is the reason that he had to beat John. But I think. Oops. Yeah, so I think Chappers is really the ink assassin, as we seem to have to call him according to the official program. Is really relishing this opportunity to have a look at Rob on this court.
Well, first of all, apologies for jumping straight in, but I just asked the question everyone wants me to ask rather than asking you how you are, which some might be interested in. But I actually agree with you. I think Chappie is the growing in-form player who's learning the specialist tricks of being in the top four. And Rob's relatively newly a father for the second time with Claire, and so therefore he's going to have to work quite hard. But of course we both know, and we've seen it many times before, you can never write Rob off. But on this court, in these conditions, I'd give Chappie the edge. And as I say that, Rob puts the ball sweetly into the grill for the first point.
And prior to Chappers being part of the World Championship equation, these guys were really... Chappers was the principal practice partner for Rob, so there's I doubt since that time they've added very many layers to the game. Arguably Chappers might have added a few more dimensions, but there's no surprises here. Rob setting an early tone with these winners.
Yeah, one thing Rob's practiced many thousands of times is targets, and if there's a target available, and that's the noticeable thing from the previous match. Camden, from what I saw, I watched the whole of the first 2.5 sets, didn't even go for a winning gallery, which is unheard of. So the fact that he managed to get over the line whilst not firing on all cylinders was actually quite impressive. But as you say, Ben, you have to feel for Ben a bit on that third set. With regards to dimensions added to the game, I agree with you with Chris. He's bringing a lot of squash stuff, both in retrieval and boasting. That's something, again, that Camden does a lot of. And there's the distinctive fault call of Adam Phillips, as only he does.
Yeah, I think I could practice that fault call for a long time and I still wouldn't get it with the same exuberance as Adam does. I mean, this is obviously why we're paid the big money to analyse such important facets of this game.
Interestingly, though, there is a very good reason why Adam calls it so loudly, and actually the previous pro another pro that does that was Rory Gunn. And the reason you call it so loudly is just in case the other player is about to hit it very, very hard. You want them to stop play immediately and to know they've got to stop play.
Okay, we'll do a shout out to the first person that can tweet in the correct spelling of Rory without cheating. Bounced on the grill edge there, so it still counts. There's a strange nick row right there. It's a nicked, but then came up again.
So it's before my time because I'm so young, but of course one match that Adam marked on this court involving Rob Fahey and Tim Chisholm was probably the second closest world challenge in in recent history anyway, which went to the 13th set, despite Rob having had a 4-set lead on the last day, going in and only needed 1 set, and that was marked very ably by the same Adam Phillips. And that was the last one that anyone other than Drew Lyons marked.
Actually, if they'd been part of some completely esoteric real tennis quiz, I would have got it wrong. Didn't know that. Thanks, NJ. And Tom Carew Hunt was the second shout out for the day. That's the correct spelling of Ruri. Ruadefqrbar. Yep, correct. 100%. Ruaridh. Correct.
R-O-R-Y is the way I spell it.
The last time I saw Chappers on this court was part of his ill-fated campaign against Steve Agona in the World Championship Eliminator Series. And to be honest with you, he never really got comfortable in that match. It looks to be a different Chappers, where obviously the stakes are not what they were in that match. You know, it was his first World Championship involvement, and he wanted to do better there than. So there's clearly putting pressure on himself. But after that first game, I think Chappers has been the better of these two players in this. What we've seen so far today. Not much, admittedly, but here's just saying. It's a shame that the only part of the inked assassin that we can see that's inked is some something in an ornithologue will tell you is a magpie on his ankle.
And of course, us Brits don't really know why he's got a magpie, but I'm sure Jed will now tell us.
Because he supports the worst Aussie rules football team that has ever been and that ever will be. The batsman doing some gardening there on the what he felt was a rough spot on the pitch. So, given that this is the only the second iteration of this tournament, this is a tournament which Rob Fahey hasn't won. I don't think that there are tournaments which have come into being and are no longer with us, which Rob has won, but this is one currently in existence which he hasn't got his name on the trophy. So interesting to see whether he tackles both this match and a final if he gets there with the enthusiasm to get his name on a trophy which he hasn't won.
Totally different subject. I don't know whether anyone's mentioned it during this week, but you'll notice from your pictures that the light is very, very good here. And that isn't only because of the natural sunlight coming in, but a lot of work was done 2 or 3 years ago. Oh, there's a great overhead from Chris Chapman, getting himself the service back. And they had a major problem here. 2 reasons: the light couldn't be direct, and it couldn't interrupt or damage any part of the structure of the court. And Jeffrey Russell, who's a great player from this club and also on the committee, spent 2 years researching and came up with a brilliant solution, which is light shined off the ceiling. And so this is the only court that we are aware of that has lighting that isn't direct at all onto the court. And this was possible due to the flat ceiling. But funny enough, there's a proposed court in Charleston, South Carolina, who are actually looking at possibly doing the same thing because this works so well. It takes a bit more energy, but it means you don't have any balls going up and being lost in the lights.
We mentioned the Charleston project earlier today, Nick, but that's an interesting bit of information. So it's always been always noted that about this court, that it's always been uplighting, and that ball was coming towards us. Fortunately, hit the ceiling that we're talking about. Otherwise, was a solid 20-20 shot. Saw a number of those from both of the players in the last match. Defensive volley ending up in the winning gallery. I think ending up is the most appropriate description for some of them. Well, that was travelling.
So for anyone who has any more interest in the Charleston, South Carolina project, I can confirm that it's definitely going ahead. The ground and the site was cleared last week. The services and ducts and the car park were all put in about 2 months ago, and the first proper site meeting happened on June the 5th. Proposed permitting completion will be in the next 4 or 5 months, and they're looking at starting to build in first quarter 2019 with a 10 to 12 month project time before completion. I can also tell you that it's a wonderful club that it's based at, and anyone that's interested in going to suss it out once it's completed will be very happy if they do so.
That's Daniel Islands, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. It's very nicely located. It's got a couple of golf courses, 14 lawn tennis courts, and it's 15 minutes from the airport, just north of Charleston.
And is it true that it still hosts a WTA tournament at some point during the year?
It does. I don't know the exact details of that, but I was going around with the club president and the guy that founded it, and they have 2 very good golf courses, to the point where they've got one with perfectly good grass. They just ripped all the grass up to change the type of grass because it's more preferable for the climate down there. But I was lucky enough to play on one of them, and it was very, very well set up and well maintained.
You were lucky enough to cut up some of the grass on the golf course. Zing! What a beauty. So, Chapman, as we stated, looking quite comfortable on his home surroundings. Commentator's curse. We've had it a couple of times today, yep. It's Fahey looking to wind up his opponent by saying that was exceptionally well marked, even though the Chappers thought that it wasn't necessarily the right call. No, that's going too far. He was just hoping, I suppose. Fahey's career has now been so long that maybe need to talk about sort of several sections, maybe not as simple as early career and late career, but certainly in his early career, however long you want to call that, let's call it the first 12 years. He was simply good, better than most of his opponents, and was the one applying pressure throughout matches. In the latter part, albeit that he's been world champion, I wouldn't say he was necessarily the best player on court, but his analytical ability has provided him with a good number of his wins, and so I think here, Rob may not be. Chappers has called that down on himself. I thought it was up. So did my co-commentator. But anyway, back to my convoluted point. My convoluted point was that Rob has had the luxury of not really needing to work out his opponents, but I think in his latter career has devoted probably more mental energies in his matches to working out what his opponent is doing at a time and finding a strategy to combat that. Obviously that's a smart approach, but one that's been arrived at through necessity.
Actually, I would take it a stage further than that, in that Rob doesn't only suss out what his opponents can do and what he needs to do, but his off-court training regime, certainly in the run-up to World Championships, lasts a good 6 to 9 months and will involve totally structured training, both with regards to physical training, off-court and nutrition, in order to make sure that he can combat whatever it is he's like to be facing. The perfect example being the weight he lost and the speed he gained for the 2014 World Challenge, which caught his opponent unawares and proved to be successful.
Yeah, he's really piled on the kilos since May. Again, I can't say anything genuinely or seriously. I will say though that when you support a team like Carlton, there's a lot of mental anguish that comes with that, and I'm sure that's a reason that he keeps his weight down. Not eating and general depression.
Through my little understanding, I believe Carlton have had a bad season, but I'm not going to ask you anything about your team because I'm sure they did really well.
To think, Carlton. No, let me rephrase. Rob has won as many World Championships in 2018 as Carlton have won games. One is with one opportunity of asking, and the other one is with 17 opportunities of asking.
So back to the definition of the word convolution. I believe if you look at the dictionary, it mentions Jed Eden several times.
Better than the esteemed President of the United States having idiot against his name under Google. Ooh. We've gotten political. I retract that statement.
One thing I would say about the play, which we should talk about at some stage, having digressed on several occasions, unfortunately all tied together. One thing Chris is doing, he's making some very good shot selection, and he is producing some shots which certainly aren't in the textbook. And some of the retrieval has been exceptional as well. I would also add, in the previous match, despite him not being firing on all cylinders, Camden got probably half a dozen shots that he is the only person in the world that would have got, just with his speed and his racket skills.
Yep, concur on that last point. And on the point about Chappers and his movement and retrieving ability, which you might just say, well, he's a squash player and so that comes along with it, but anybody who's played the game knows it's a different kettle of fish. Fahey doing some damage here with these railroads. As Phillips calls game. I was talking in the previous match, Nick, about the Camden Riviere's relationship with his railroad, and it's in. You could probably write a lot about it. Specifically, 2014, 2018 didn't serve it very much in those World Championship campaigns, and obviously ended up on the wrong side of the scorecard there. And but Rob is similar. He's very selective about when he chooses to serve his railroad. And if we're talking about the history of Rob Fahey, as long as it is, for the first part of his career, particularly playing on the Australian courts, which are receptive to the railroads, he almost exclusively served the railroad.
Well, funny enough, Ben made a comment in the first match. He served a very poor railroad fault, and he said, "Why am I wasting my arm on a fault serve?" And that is a very good point with regards to railroads. A lot of people struggle doing it consistently throughout the season because it takes quite a toll, particularly in the muscles in the top of the shoulder, and so therefore they tend to be sparing with it.
I was talking about Camden's return of serve as well. Any left-hander's return of serve is one of the demanding aspects of that is having your arm high and looking to show strength on the ball with your essentially your elbows away from your body, and it's the same is true for the railroad. Anatomically, we're built for our arms to be down by our sides, not for some silly game of hitting. Marker was never in danger then. Not for some sport of wielding a bit of wood and trying to chase spherical objects around a strange-shaped court.
Very good point there. But one of the other things about Camden's return of serve, he does something very few people do, and that's he has one or sometimes even both feet off the ground when he strikes the ball. That's something which is a total anathema to real tennis players, as we all know you need to be moving forwards and feet firmly planted. The only other player that really does this is a right-hander, is John Lumley, who seems to be the up-and-coming player at the moment.
Yuppie? Oh, up and...
Once again, convolution rules the waves. John's managed to get himself to his best ever handicap with this tournament, so well done to him.
Up and coming. I understood what you said after I thought about it for a moment. Michael Phillips confirming to Fahey that did indeed win the chase. Very delicately poised this set, 3-all. I think I've just got to go with my overall prediction that Chapman is going to win. I wouldn't want to have any more than the 20p that I've got on it.
Yeah, I've had two £50 bets for charity in the last few years with a certain Simon Talbot Williams, both of which I won because he was betting about stuff he doesn't really understand. But I would agree with you on this. This one can't be called. Anyway, Jed, it's been great talking to you. Unfortunately, I've got to go and meet with some other real tennis people about something completely different, to coin a phrase.
Well, that fits in with my convoluted theme. And now for something completely different, Python-esque. Yes. Nick, thank you for your insight on Charleston and on the aspects of these guys' games. Safe drive to wherever you are, and maybe we'll see you tomorrow for the final.
Sadly, I'm not coming out tomorrow, but I will be avidly watching on screen and listening to your commentary. Thanks, everyone.
Inshallah. Sparkling exchanges between these guys. Chappers was looking for that one and then thought better of his hamstrings to really trying to get there. So this is the Fahey that we saw in the World Championship, taking every opportunity to hit the ball pretty firmly when he can, and curiously and unashamedly straight at his opponent. No disguising. There it is again. Chapman's ably dealing with it on that occasion. I think we'll see something more subtle from him on this point. Nope, not subtle at all, but this time found the net and game to Chapman. Vital seventh goes to the Australian. Oh, to one of the Australians. Oh, the Melburnian Australian. Interesting point there. Not the tidiest giraffe. Pretty good shot hit by Fahey on the return to serve, and then what must have been a brilliant get from Chapman to get there. Currently racking my brain to work out what the score between these two guys was last time that they played each other. It was in the Australian Open final this year. Where Mr. Fahey denied Mr. Chapman a maiden open victory, straight sets. Hobart, I believe. Hello to everybody in Hobart, if you're still listening. Maybe if that had been in Melbourne, it would have been a closer match. Got a good amount of strings on that one, did Chappers? As he did that. Crucial moments here with potential 5-3 lead to Chapman at stake. Chapman's retrieving skills there, pitted against Fahey's volleying and attacking brilliance. The latter one. Chapman allows a compliment to his opponent there, says it was a good serve. I think both of those were pretty good. Left him in doubt of volley versus back wall. And you may have heard 4-all. Who says it's not exciting? It's like Chapman reminding himself of that shot. For those of you who played at RTC Royal Tennis Court here at Hampton Court Palace, seems like a large court, and it is. It's another step or so away from that traditional service position to the main wall. So for any of the players to allow their opponent back in the middle of the court and then ask them to backtrack and back into that backhand corner is quite demanding. I'm looking at the people in the upper hazard gallery then, and that was called a hazard chase, and there was a lot of nodding going on, so I guess it must have been a hazard chase. Yeah, one might have expected the world champion to get that one. I think I had that one covered. We're at 80 plus points here for close to 90 points for this 4 games all. The first set gives you an idea of the parity here. So that's 87 points, I think, for 9 games. Has each one of these points, Giles, gone to a deuce? Can you tell me? There must have been others that have gone to deuce. Only the last 4, okay. So the last exciting games have gone to deuce. Stellar defence there from Fahey in the backhand corner. That choice there. Oh, and Chapman helped him out. 30 love. 30 love toward 5 games all here in this first set. Severe cut now on a lot of these Chapman shots. Not moving through the air particularly fast, but it puts the pressure on the opponent. They know that if they don't cut it off before the back wall, it's just going to cut down to a short chase or a stroke going towards the hazard end. There's a set point here. Fahey was 30 love up in this game and saw that advantage eaten into. Back to deuce. Can't remember what year it was, but I was watching. It was a French Open. It was in Fontainebleau. Rob Fahey was playing Andrew Page, first round singles, and Rob faltered once. Match point against him. Will you believe? Match point against Rob. He faults on the first ball, and to most other people he also double faulted, but except for the marker, I somehow felt, marking from the dead on, that the ball had gotten beyond the all-important halfway line and called it good, and Rob won the point from there, and thus went Andrew Page's own opportunity to say that he won a set over Rob Fahey. Another set point here, chappers. I'm not talking twaddle, am I? There's a set point, Giles. Yeah. There's a massive cut at that. It's working Chapman around, but to what end, I'm not sure. This is the prime opportunity, and he even gets to... Ooh. Oh, extraordinary point. I'd like to have the slow-mo replay on that one. I think Chappers might have been able to leave that ball to lose last gallery. Might have been. It might have been chase off at worst. Yet another set point. If Chappers doesn't win this set now, he's going to be disillusioned with the game. Hopefully only for a minute or so. So before my the co-commentator who's joining me now arrived, I looked to recruit another who hopefully was going to speak intelligently about his the book having been written by his father about various real tennis, his memoirs, his second edition of his memoirs, and things since that edition, but he refused. So, Jonas, I'm really sorry, but Nicky kind of refused to plug your book for you. So, I guess it's left to me to plug your book for you. I think it's called Better Than the Last, which we all hope it was. No, I joke. It was. I've read the first book and enjoyed it immensely, and I'm sure this new edition is equally entertaining for experienced real tennis players as well as newcomers. It's a Ronaldson Publications edition. I'm sure if you look somewhere online you can find something about purchasing a copy, and I know now he wants to say something, now that I've shamed him.
Well, you did say you wanted an intelligent response, so I thought I'd better refuse. That's a great shot from Rob there. Yeah, Daz decided to do another book, 20 years, a little over 20 years from his first one, More Than a Yard Worse, and just sort of a continuation from his last book of his life in real tennis and other people's thoughts, some of the great experiences he had with this wonderful game. So I hope people enjoy the book. There's not a heap of real tennis books out there, so I think it's great that he's done another book. So halfway through August, I think it's available to be bought.
That's brilliant, Nicky. I think we over-represent for a sport. We've got to pause for this point. Well, that was probably going in. Yeah, I think we over-represent in terms of the small sport that we are. I think there are quite a few books written, but I take your point. You know, it's it's great that people are passionate enough to write, take the time to put to paper their or put to keyboard their experiences, and who better than Jonathan Howe, your old man, because he's had a rich history in our game. How old is he now? He's not over that critical marker, is he? No, he's not.
58.
Yep. Jonas is doing an extensive book tour with the release of that book, so I'm sure he'll catch him close by. Anyway, my co-commentator, and we're very privileged to have him join us. And hopefully, if I ask him some sensible questions, we can get a degree of insight into the game from him. A man who was had a interesting tournament, you'd probably say. I can't think of many other occasions where he was really knocking on the door of the former world champion and current world number one, Camden Riviere, but as he was today. Ben, bad luck, mate. It was pretty good, though. Shame not to have that third set.
Yeah, disappointing not to get over the line from 5-4, but I don't think I had any big chances towards the end of that set, so he must have done something well.
And as Nick Jones joined me prior to your arrival, he stuck it to me with the question of how do I see this match going. So that question's good enough for you. Who are you picking as a winner here?
Yeah, thanks for putting me on the spot. Always nice to have to answer questions about fellow competitors. Well, Chris is obviously a set-up and looks to be playing pretty well. Rob's trying to find his range, not quite successfully yet, although that one could make it. No. I think this match is all down to Rob, to be honest. Chris is going to kind of do his thing. He's going to be very, very up for it. If Rob plays well, I think he'll win. His style of play at the moment is pretty aggressive, so when he's on, he's pretty difficult to compete with. So if he's on, I think Chapman's is going to find it pretty tough out there, but he's dealing with it very well at the moment.
Do we read aggressive? Do you mean short points? Because I would say they haven't necessarily been short points. I mean, just in the short time that you've been here, they've been lengthy points.
Yeah, I think the game plan from Rob is short points. Like I said, if he's finding his range and he's getting balls on target, the points are going to be shorter because he's going to get through Chappers a bit more. But if Chappers defends as well as he has, certainly in the 5 or 10 minutes I've been watching, then he's drawing Rob into those rallies, which he probably doesn't mind at the moment. But as the match wears on, he's going to not enjoy them. I would have thought.
Yeah, and also I think. Not to critique your commentary there, Ben, but I don't think anyone would pretend that even if Rob is playing well, that Chappers can't beat him. But I think the point is well taken that Rob, on his day playing well, is more likely than not to beat all the players out there.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the World Championship, Camden was and still is the best player in the world on form, and had been for 4 years or something, and Rob came out there and switched it on for 3 days and got the job done. So I think, like I said, if he's on, he's very, very, very difficult to play against. And I was absolutely let's make one thing clear, I certainly wasn't saying Chappers is incapable of soaking it up, but if Rob is on to the point where he is just a target machine, he's tough, very, very tough. But Chapman's home court, he's playing well at the moment. He's throwing himself in front of everything. He's taken some calculated risks, more calculated than it looks like when he played Camden the other day. Yeah, he's playing well.
Do you think Chappers has less fear of Rob in a funny sense because of the history together as training partners and just time on court with Rob. I guess notwithstanding the World Championship result of this year, Camden has been that dominant player that you're talking about. So I suppose there's an element for players of all standings once they get on court with the world champion, with the top player, that they have greater nerves to fight than against somebody of a fractionally lower level.
Yeah, I think the big thing is Chris has hit with Rob for a couple of World Championships, and because Rob's based in the UK, he would have been on court with them a lot just for general practice and stuff as well. So when you walk out on court against the great man, you spent so many hours on court with him, it's still a daunting prospect, but there's you're not going to be scared, as it were, against someone like a Camden, because he's based in the States. You really don't get to be on court with him that often, so it probably has a bit of a different feel. One of the big things as well that you'd have to take into consideration is Chris hasn't beaten Camden before, and he would know that, Camden would know that, but he has beaten Rob, and he'll know that he beat Rob here last year, so he'll take a lot of confidence from that, and he'll certainly absolutely think he can get the job done today, and he's doing a good job at the moment.
So many good points there, Ben. Thank you. Of course, when someone's doing that, 2-1 to Fahey right now. I think he's commenting on the likeliness of that last shot. Ben, sorry for the examination, but we were talking earlier about whether a player of your level, part of the World Championship equation, etc., has sort of taken to studying the video of the World Championship this year and making any deductions or kind of training points for yourself as part of that result.
I obviously, as I was part of Rob's team, I was lucky enough to be there, front row seat, having a watch from the side galleries, which is a completely different aspect to watching it on the stream. I haven't actually watched it back yet, but just being able to pick, just to be involved in Rob's campaign, because I hit with him before both his elimination matches as well, so just to kind of be around him and see what he does. I've been very fortunate that I've been in a eliminator myself, and obviously that first time you're just kind of making it up because you don't know what you're doing, basically. So he's obviously got heaps of experience with that format and with that process, although I'm sure you'll be able to confirm this. I don't think Rob's ever had to go through the elimination process before. I
think that's correct. I said that, and certainly no one corrected me. That's the way I work these days. No, and in that sense, you sort of replaced. You unfortunately were involved in this last eliminator process, but and I think that was, in a sense, an opportunity to work with. I cast my mind back only as far as May, because that's about as far as my mind can go. But on the second day, which Rob ended up winning 4-0 against Camden, I watched you guys warming up, and I was surprised to see that there was virtually no sort of traditional warming up of exchanging the ball back and forth. You were pretty much stuck in the backhand corner of the service side, exploring how the balls had changed and what the new properties of them were, and what serves were available to him on that second day after that usage, rather than on the first day. Obviously, it changed significantly, and I think that sort of typifies the kind of approach that what Rob has had, and maybe people don't know about, is that that hit the horizontal ledge, missing the dead on by a small. Chap has complimented Rob on his judgment there, and Rob said that he basically got it all wrong. So my point being is that was that a kind of a window into what you think might be required for you to reach that those echelons of the game, or was that sort of unsurprising to you?
No, I think one of the big things, is so experienced with, in World Championship tennis. A lot of our practice sessions were spent talking, actually, and figuring things out. Rob kind of said something pretty sensible on day one. He said, "Look, I'm not gonna spend 10 days practicing 2 hours a day. I'm not gonna suddenly become like 15% better in 10 days. I need to figure out what my plan is, practice that." And like you said, with the balls being in different condition for those 3 days, both of these guys will be out here now with a plan to win this match, and the experience that Rob's got with the World Championship is effectively he's winning 3 days, and it's very easy for a match like this to go, right, I'm going to serve railroads, for example, but on day one of the Worlds that might work. You might have to wait until day 2 like he did, and then by day 3 it wasn't the right serve anymore. So yeah, his ability to think ahead as to what will work and kind of biding his time and employing the right tactics at that time, knowing that he'll have to change them, is very wise, which is something I'd never really thought about before. Never done a best of 13 format myself, so it's something that if I ever get to do that, then I'll be able to take that into consideration. But yeah, his knowledge and experience on that kind of stuff was great. It's just great to be around and hear his ideas and chat away and talk through the ideas, which he did none of in the match, by the way.
Did he mean that one? Winning gallery there from Chappers. It's a wry smile from Fahey. Why don't we go for a score check? I was so enthralled with what you were saying. I can do that. And now, Ben, I think I've seen you wearing those same shoes for a couple of tournaments, and it seems to me that all the good guys are like changing shoes every match, certainly if not every tournament. Chappers is smiles up and back the quad. I don't know how genuine the smiles were, but. Chappers has a history of running into walls. He just did then, but seems to have not concussed himself. At least not badly enough. He's a Magpie fan, so there's not much to concuss. You're a Carlton fan, aren't you? Disgraceful. Loosely was the answer. Loosely a Carlton fan. I think even diehard Carlton fans are loosely Carlton fans these days. So one of the other aspects that we touched on during your match actually was whether we felt that whether one feels whether Rob is going to win many of these tournaments going forward because of the difficulty of different opponents, physical demands of that. arguably playing best of 5 set matches on consecutive days, which you don't have to do during a World Championship. And I guess the second part of that question is, can you see Rob ever beating Camden in a tournament format? So 2 questions. One, do you see Rob winning any tournaments? And secondly, do you see, if he needs to, him beating Camden in a... Now, I haven't asked whether you can beat Camden. I'm asking whether you think Rob can beat Camden.
Yeah, that's a really unfair question. Thanks very much. I think one of the big things that would have helped Rob in the World Championship format, for example, is he got to play Camden fresh. By the time, if the two of them get to finals of events, which they're still doing on a regular basis, by the time Rob's got there, he's probably, he's had to play 2 top 8 players in the quarters and semis, barring any upsets, but he's got to play 2 top 8 players to get to Cam. I don't know how fit he is and how much training he's doing. He's obviously got a lot of hours in the bank, but I can imagine it's pretty hard work to get out against Camden in a final without being 100%. So I think, without wanting to offend anybody, I'm going to kind of sit on the fence slightly and say I think it's considerably more difficult for Rob to win tournaments than it is a World Championship.
Right, I guess that was all I was asking. Yeah. And I was thinking about it while you were answering. I was like, maybe it would be advantageous for Rob to drop down the rankings so that he does, he potentially has to end up playing Camden at a semi-final or a quarter-final level before, whilst his body's fresh, etc. Thoughts?
Well, it'd be an interesting strategy. To be honest, it's not necessarily a bad one. I mean, let's be realistic here. Rob's fit. It's not like he's an unfit guy and he can't he can't beat Camden. All the top 10 guys are pretty fit these days and should be conditioned enough to be able to do that. Although, having said that, I didn't do much this week, so I'm feeling pretty tired right now.
So you're talking physically fit, not Love Island fit type.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna beat Camden, you've got to run. So if you're getting to Camden having had a couple of tough matches to get there, if you're not at 100%, it's gonna be hard work. People have got to try and get fit enough to. I suppose the thing is with Camden, yes, he's very fit himself, obviously. Personally, I don't think he's any fitter than some people out there, but the difference is because of his kind of domination on the circuit. By the time he's got to a final, he's probably not played as many games. He's probably not played as many sets in order to get there, so he's feeling fresher than his opponent 9 times out of 10. I would have thought.
No, all makes good sense. All makes good sense. If it's any good news to you. We'll share with you. Somehow this commentary is feeding through to another room here in at Hampton Court Palace. And the world number 1 is apparently listening, so you'll be pleased to hear you. He thinks that he understands that you think that he's not fit. For the record, I asked you about Rob, not Camden. So I can't be blamed at all for that.
You brought up the World Championship, not me.
Please. I asked whether Rob could beat Camden in a tournament. That's got nothing to do with the World Championship.
I guess the answer, based on the last few years, is no.
So you could have. It would have been briefer commentary, but you could have just said that. Deft touch over the high point of the net there by Chapman. Looks like he's done that before.
I hope you're smiling now, Cam.
He did say you, Cam. Actually, he said you were fit an excruciating amount of times. Fit. He didn't say physically fit. Camden fit Riviere. Camden fit Scott Riviere. Yeah. Fitier. Yeah. What's going on in match?
Rob got off to a good start in this set. Went 3-1 up, finding his targets. Chappers has pegged him back though. We're at 3-all.
I did know the score, but thanks for the refresh. A cornucopia of snacks has landed in front of me, courtesy of your other half, Ben. Hello, Sally. She said hello. Ben, we were talking about the fact that the world champion, no, the world number one's staple diet when he first came to the UK was Cokes and Pizza Express. This looks this spread you've got here looks a bit more along those lines than the healthier food that he's that he's gone to, presumably recently. No, you're allowed a few. Chappers is going to kill himself. I don't know. Sensational point. Exactly. Yes, you deserve, after your efforts today, Ben, you deserve whatever you want. You can have 2 scoops of ice cream later as well. So our stats man says he feels he's obviously as parochial as you like, and is going for Chappers, and he says that Chappers is only serving 45% of the time, and he's winning the majority of the points when he is serving, but therefore his analysis is that he needs to be at service end. Giles believes that there's Giles, the stats man, believes there's hypocrisy in telling the world number 3 how to play the game, but I entirely disagree. Stats are stats, and the damned lies as well, obviously. But no, they don't lie. I, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 24 25 26 27 28 29 30 31 32 33 34 35 36 37 38 39 40 41 42 43 44 45 46 47 48 49 50 51 52 53 54 55 56 57 58 59 60 61 62 63 64 65 66 67 68 69 70 71 72 73 74 75 76 77 78 79 80 81 82 83 84 85 86 87 88 89 90 91 92 93 94 95 96 97 98 99 100 101 102 103 104 105 106 107 108 109 110 111 112 113 114 115 116 117 118 119 120 121 122 123 124 125 126 127 128 129 130 131 132 133 134 135 136 137 138 139 140 141 142 143 144 145 146 147 148 149 150 151 152 153 154 155 156 157 158 159 160 I asked for some salient points, and you provided them. Thank you.
Can you put an order in for sparkling waters? Sparkling water.
Great serve there from Chappers. Backed Rob into the grill, but world champion ended up with a point. And these guys have been smiling at each other more than it seems. Is that a straw? Yeah. Sensational skid both force there. Fahey goes ahead with the sparkling passage of play, the like of which we've I know exactly what you're talking about, sorry. For some reason my block.
Where's this going?
I've been asked where this is going. I think Fahey will somehow work himself across the line in this set, at least. I'm not changing my prediction. I failed to tell you that though. But so when NJ asked, I did give an honest answer of who I thought was going to win, and I did say Chapman. So put to the sword of the question. I didn't sit on the fence. Let me summarise your answer. If Rob plays well, he'll win. But Chappers is playing well right now, so he might win. It's like the fence is like 4 meters wide. No, he's not.
Maybe I shouldn't sit on the fence, because if you'd asked anybody competing in this tournament who was going to win the first semi-final, they would have all said Camden. So maybe I can be a bit nastier.
Yes, you're paid for your candid views. We want to hear your candid views.
I'm being paid.
In gummy bears in front of you. Actually, you're right. £1.30 for a smallest pack of cashews you've ever seen is quite steep.
They are roasted and salted though.
I'm just trying to work out which country they come from. There's a joke about that, isn't there?
He's got a chance.
If that was playing a hazard chase, it was genius.
Yeah. So it's 4-3 to Fahey, and that took us back to deuce. So if he can wriggle out of this one and stay at the service end, 5-3 serving, you would put him as the favourite for the set.
How many minutes in this game, Giles? This game. So nothing spectacular at all, 3.5 minutes. Four games all, thrilling. Sarcastic yeah coming from the world champion. Brief recap if you're just joining us or forgotten. First semi-final won by Camden Riviere, 3-1 over Ben Matthews. First set here, 6-4 to Chris Chapman, number 3 seed, over Rob Fahey. 4-4 here in this crucial second set. Tom Carew Hunt can spell Ruri, and Ben Matthews thinks that Camden Riviere is fit. I think that pretty much does it. So Ben, after this tournament, you're better equipped than most to tell us where the focus of the game goes towards. Do you want to tell us about the British Pro Singles Stroke IRTPA Championships coming up at the Leamington Tennis Court Club?
Oh, I assumed you meant when does the pros golf season start? Yeah, with the addition of this tournament in July, the off season's now significantly smaller than it used to be. So I think we've only got maybe 2 months until the French Open, last week of September, and then Leamington are hosting the IRTPA Championships again for the second year in a row. Looking forward to that. The club's looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll get all of the top guys in. It should be a good event. I think we did a pretty good job last year. All the players seem to enjoy themselves. It's a good, fun, hospitable club. The members enjoy being able to kind of schmooze with the pros, and they're really looking forward to it. So hopefully we can put on another good show and get Leamington on the map as a major tournament host.
Yeah, sorry Ben, you shouldn't have had to say those serious things, but I can confirm and would have said, unassisted by Ben, that Leamington is a great club and in some ways an ideal location for a top class tournament like that. I know from the last year's event that the pros hugely enjoyed that. Where previous venues for the event, Holyport and Manchester, are similar in that respect. Great clubs with members are really involved, really keen to see the game at its elite standard, and really relish the opportunity to rub shoulders, as it were, because you're also intimidating. No, but to have that opportunity to converse and really see the top end of the game close at hand.
Yeah, and it's, you know, all of the clubs offer something something different from each other, so that's it's good fun for the players as well. Kind of venue to venue, they all, you know, like I said, they all offer something different. This place obviously just steeped in history. It's amazing just coming through the front gates every day. Leamington offers a pretty bustling social scene, so the members will enjoy that. They're very good spectators, so they'll be there all day. So we're expecting some big crowds up there, which would be great. You know, the players, there's nothing worse than playing in front of, you know, kind of 5 people. So yeah, hopefully we'll get loads of tickets sold and people will buy into it, and we'll all have a good fun week.
And presumably they can buy those tickets via the IRTPA website and the club when get in contact with you. Okay, fine. Google Leamington Tennis Court Club and speak to Ben. I can probably even give you a phone number if anyone's 01926 424 977. 01926 424 977. Get on it. What are the dates there, Ben?
14th to the 21st of October.
14th to the 21st of October. So substantially after the French Open, in fact.
Yes, 2 weeks, almost the day, I think. I think the French Open finishes on Sunday, and we start on the Sunday with the satellite tournament. So yeah, it's a pretty quick turnaround for the guys that are playing in both events.
And what are your focuses for this upcoming season? Obviously, to remain in contention for those crucial World Championship eliminators positions, but we're in the first year, so it's sort of... No, second year. We're coming into the second year, aren't we?
We will be
Yes. Second season, so apologies. So points doubled in the second year as they have been previously. What are your feelings on the venues for the upcoming Opens, etc.?
I mean, the thing with the race for the World Championship, like you said about the points doubling in year 2, you know, you can't qualify for the Worlds in year 1, but you can definitely put yourself in a very difficult position to qualify. So I think first year everybody's just trying to win events, you know, trying to get their name on a trophy, and then second year becomes much more about, you know, obviously trying to win tournaments, but just going as deep into the tournaments as you can, just to kind of solidify your place in that top 4 process to try and qualify for the Worlds. It should be very competitive this time around as well. So there's going to be a few disappointed players, I would have thought, at the end of this one. Hopefully not myself again.
No, you've been in that situation, Ben, and I thought you dealt with it admirably. You just said I didn't do well enough in the events that you played, and that was it. You know, as much as I know it was a quirk of the race point system. So it sort of was with a whimper slightly there. How many minutes was that set there? 41 minutes into an hour 20, so degree of symmetry there in that second there. I'm apparently going to bid adieu to my co-commentator Ben, but thank you, Ben, for really putting yourself on the line there with some of those answers. Oh, sorry, can we edit that? No, thank you, Ben. It's always good to hear that the insider's view on that World Championship process. Make sure you take all your roasted and assaulted. What? There were 2 peanuts. One was assaulted and the other was arrested. Joke goes something like that. Yeah. And best of luck in this coming season, French Open, and look forward to seeing you certainly at the IRTPA Championships in Leamington in October.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the match.
Who's going to win from here, Ben?
Well, you're either going to be out here for another 40 minutes or 4 hours, so...
If it's 4 hours, who's going to win?
You're going to be drafting in some commentary. If it's 4 hours, who's going to win, Chappers?
So no change in your prediction. You're predicting Chappers from here on in.
Off the fence.
Thank you, Ben. Illuminating as always. It's like everybody left this tournament just a moment ago. Players are the only ones. I lie, of course. There are a number of people in all the galleries, but so what would have to be said is almost a decisive lead now for Chapman, with 2 sets to love. I didn't read it. I thought it was going to be 1-1. We've got our marker back. I don't know what angle you saw that from. I think it was a vertical ledge of the dead-on and eventually went into the dead-on. So after 3 or 4 hours, Adam Phillips is still bang on with his marking. Some cat and mouse. Fahey gets a early lead in this third set, which of course he must win if he's going to get through to tomorrow's final, where Camden Riviere waits. Might want to mark that one on the stream. It was a almost perfect cherry bob there from Rob. Stolen from him by an alert opponent. Although there seems to be an Instagram poll, which must have really only been 2 people, because they believe that 50% of the people believe that Fahey is going to win from this situation. No, it's more than that, but even then, not much. Trademark cut volley. Well, that wasn't even a cut volley, that was sort of just smash volley to 1 and 2. personal technical issues. Fahey leads in this third set, 2 games to love. Make that 3 games to love. Things happen fast. This world. Fahey's gone to this drag serve. Drag from both sides of his body. Mark that one on the stream. Fahey was swinging at that ball before it hit the back wall. Only Rob can explain the reasoning for that. Should we call it tactical change of going to a drag serve? So one of the aspects of changing to a slower serve is not providing your opponent with pace for them ultimately to hurt you with. Maybe he knows, or maybe he knows something about Chapman and a tight railroad there from Chapman. Chapman just says to himself, don't hit it to his forehand. I was being a bit harsh on himself because at least one of those was a forehand railroad that Rob hit off the timber. So I wouldn't mind betting that Chapman is not going to put too many energies into the set further. Although most opponents will be wary of spotting Fahey set. Well, you might see about 1,000 more hours of real tennis before you see something even remotely like that. That was a behind the back volley off a full-blooded force. Do we have replayability? Even I need to see a replay of this one. Fahey persisting with this drag. He obviously knows something, well, plenty of things more than we do about this game. So Chapman gets on the scoreboard in this third set. There's a sort of a strange calm about the match right now, but I suspect if Chapman gets one more game here now, then that'll ratchet up somewhat. Now Mark Adam Phillips still doing a sensational job. Provides the players with some balls there. So, as predicted, another game to Chapman. Adds a little spice to this third set. Sort of a shocking noise there, but it wasn't anything more than a string break of Mr. Chapman's gold leaf racket. I think Rob suggesting that his autographed Gray's racket was more up to the task than his opponent's rackets. Not getting involved. Switzerland. Even Rob Fahey can hit a Mayward dinner from there. Should have half paced that in there. opponent committed to the other side, and which is smart in ways, because probably what was on offer on the backhand side was a chase for Fahey, and with the put away available to him, he chose the point rather than the chase. So if you're wondering, the final tomorrow between the winner of this match and Camden Riviere is at noon, as was our start today. High noon. Best of 5 sets. After losing the World Championship title, Riviere couldn't have done any more than what was asked of him, and pocketed his, I think it's 9th US Pro Singles Shocker Cup. Played every year at Newport, Rhode Island, and then and now he's obviously back in the final of the next event. Something that was slightly remiss of me, but I enjoy at the same time, was not having congratulated my co-commentator Taylor Matthews, on with Bryn Sayers having won the British Professional Doubles a number of weeks ago at Preston Hall Racquet Club. Great win. Chap has had the distinction there of hitting the same part of the dead on that wouldn't win him the point twice in a row. I put a truckload of money on Rob hitting the winning yellow as he did then. It's a great shot from Chapman. Never in doubt the result of that shot. When Chapman first showed up on the scene, he was always a formidable talent, and a feature of his game was a lot of hard hitting, as you might expect from a squash player. Where spin plays a part for sure, but less so than in this game. And in tennis, he took it on board that not only was hard hitting and going to be difficult for him off every shot, but also not necessarily in his favour. So, and then he went to this sort of heavy cut style, where he wasn't really getting enough penetrative speed through the court with his shots. But in the last couple of years, has obviously found a nice balance between those two efforts of pace and spin, and what you see now is a nice blend of those two. Ample power when he requires it, but great touch. Seemingly no one was sure of the score there. I said some of these Chapman giraffes are threatening being impossible to return if within inches of. When I say impossible to turn, I obviously mean by mere mortals like myself. This point is going to hurt Chapman to lose, if he does. Does he not? Fahey knew that he pushed his luck a little bit there with that down the line backhand. And sure enough, he had. Could be said in a way that Chapman were responsible for Fahey's exit in this tournament last year. They had a bumper match in the first round after qualifiers, which he won, and which consigned Rob to having to play Nicky Howe, but after a long 5 sets, and come the quarter-final against Nicky, Fahey found his legs a bit leaden, and Nicky took full advantage. Second time Fahey's resorted to the attempted stroke with his racket out of his hand. Could be wrong, but I think that's if he hits it, then it's not a stroke, because you can't win a point unless the racket's in your hand. So in the outcome of him actually throwing a racket, him or anybody else throwing the racket at the ball and it going back over, that wouldn't be allowed to stand. But presumably the marker calls whatever he wants to as where he deemed the ball to have been bouncing for a chase. (3-5) now. I don't know what. I hope Chapman holds of winning all of the next 3 games. Won't stop him trying, of course. Great judicious boast there, getting Rob to base the tambo all the way over to the other side of the court. Too much for him. Chappie showing that he wants this set. Why not 2? It's a great game so far by Chapman. Using those boasts to a great effect. Fahey's still moving well, but I think he's probably feeling various efforts, looking for that first strike opportunity, which hasn't worked for him in that last game or so. He took a deep breath there. I'm looking to get into the service end and regroup. Great, truly great serve there from Chappers. And need no further invitation to hit the winning gallery. His 9th winning gallery of the match. Definitely knows where that his home winning gallery is. So getting a bit dicey now for Fahey. Doesn't want to get into an 11th game with Chapman with full momentum on his side. 30 all. Quick points here. That'll favour Fahey. Sensational get from Rob. Ran all the way up the court. He was hoping for a main wall dead on and went just below. Great play from Chappers. He's doing exactly what he needs to do, moving his older opponent back and forth across the court. Even in points he loses, obviously, there's something to be gained by doing that. Chase 5. Chappers to beat and get himself to the back of juice. Extraordinary gesture there from Rob. Apparently Chapman's got a camera flash right in his eyes, right in his eye, and this is a critical moment here because that would have been a set point for Rob. Some small amount of justice being served there. He ends up with the same result. Set point, Fahey. If you didn't hear our marker, 6-4, Fahey. Camden Riviere's fellow Aconite, Kevin Kisner, was leading the Open golf after the first day, and then he had a double bogey on the 18th yesterday to drop away from the lead, but is now back after 6 holes at 8 under and leading the Open. So I'm sure if you follow Riviere on social media, you might comment both on his victory today and also that his hometown brethren also leading in another important event. For what it's worth, Tiger Woods is in the clubhouses at 5 under as in clubhouse lead, but will surely be eclipsed by Spieth and co. So a number of these simple side ball, not heavily cut, just ensuring he gets the side ball, gets that ball coming down and putting his opponent to sort of deciding on that last bounce off the... There it is again. Interesting second shot from Fahey. So tell us who's watching out there, folks. A number of you. What corners of the globe are tuning into a oppressively hot Hampton Court Palace today? A look away, no idea type retrieve that found its way into the dead eye. Fahey claiming some kind of skill about it. So this is a danger period here for Chapman. He's got the 2 sets to 1 lead. Crucially, only 1 set required from him, but the last person you want to see in your rear view mirror is his opponent. So there's at least 1 person watching in the southern contiguous United States. Good Saturday midday to you, Tiger. That's what Fahey's been working towards. Perfect drag in its results. He obviously would like to curl that into the winning gallery, but a vertical ledge put it beyond Chapman's reach, so same difference. Fahey slightly disappointed in himself on not getting to where he needed to be to get that missed force. Slightly harsh on himself, I'd say. Chapman eats into Fahey's lead there. Brings back to 1-2. Could we get a fifth set here in this match that we didn't get in the last one? It's a lot of winning galleries there from Chapman. It's at least 10 now. It is 10. It's perfect 10, I'm informed. I've got a treat for you folks. I've managed to cajole the world #1 and first semi-final victor, Camden Riviere, into saying a few words. Camden, well done earlier today. Your thoughts?
Oh, just happy to have survived, to be honest. Ben played really well. It's tough out there. It's super hot and a bit muggy, and he was retrieving so well today. It just put me under constant pressure, so just happy to have gotten through.
No, it's certainly a great match to watch, and to be honest, you know, you've been so dominant in the tournament formats for such a long time. It's good to see you put under pressure and see what your answers were going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I would obviously not, I'd rather not be under pressure, but it's nice, I think, for me as well. I need to know what I can do under pressure and see what's there in the tank still. So it's nice to have it, and it's good to see these boys playing well and stepping up. You know, especially seeing Chappie taking it to Rob here. It's nice to see finally. You know, it's been a bit of a slump for the last couple of years, so it's nice to see everybody stepping up to the plate.
Even if that means harder matches for you. Good. Well, that's very gracious of you. And do you I don't know if you were wearing a sort of an ankle brace, and there are times when myself and co-commentators wondered whether you were 100%. I know you also had a sort of a coldy, fluey thing recently when you were in the States. Is that?
Last week was a bit rough. Kind of just couldn't play much tennis, lost a lot of weight, just pretty sick. But no excuses out here now. It's you battle through and you find a way to win, and every day's 100%. All these guys are playing through beat up bodies and different things. So we're all just trying to make the best of it, keep ourselves in one piece.
Good. Are you have you had a nice bath after that match? Or
I just spent the last 2.5 hours trying to cool down, to be honest. It's so hot out there. The perspex around the court really keep the heat in. So it makes it very tough to cool down and kind of get the body temp right. Well, great serve there. So it's just, it's not something we're used to having, really. We're used to a bit more airflow coming through.
Well, you've got less excuse. I mean, coming from South Carolina, we would have thought that was this temperature, although exceptional for us, is more like what you're used to. Yeah.
Just unexpected. I'll call it. I love it, but yeah, just not something I was expecting on the trip over.
Sure. I think there are a lot of Brits that are surprised for sure, but they're trying to work out whether they're pleasantly surprised or whether they're going to start moaning about wanting a bit more rain. Or we had a couple of points. There was a great the first truly brilliant giraffe there while you were speaking from Chappers.
Perfectly flush. He's been serving well all day, I've found. Obviously a bit of a dip in the third set, but he's really kept Rob under pressure this whole match, getting plenty of opportunities for short points like that, kind of 1-2 punches, which is really really what he wants out of this. He wants to kind of get on offense early, and he's been doing a great job of that all day. Rob did well in the third to battle back and change his serving up a little bit. I'd be interested to see the stats on the difference in the service end on the third set, because I reckon Rob spent a lot more time serving in that set, and it shows in the result, you know. So,
well, you're correct insofar as for the whole match, Rob has been serving more. I think Chappers has been more successful at the server's end and also at the receiver's end, but has spent less time at the server's end. So
I think that, you know, that's a deceiving stat, because, you know, we sit here at 2-1, and that may work for 2 sets. But over the course of a 5-set match against someone as good as Rob, you can't rely on that stat. You can't rely on winning lots of points from the receiver's end. You have to assume that eventually Rob's gonna start to be dominant on that service end, and you need to get away from there. And so I think, you know, this match has kind of taken a bit of a turn as that started to happen. Rob's becoming more effective from the service end, and that's allowing him to be a little bit more dominant in these rallies. So.
And I'll spare you some of the World Championship stats on Rob's degree of success from the hazard end. But, so what's was it your 9th consecutive US Pro for the Shocker Cup that you won recently, Cam?
It was. It's been a pretty good decade in Newport for me. It's just such a good tournament. You know, it's summer. Newport's an amazing city. You know, it's great to get all the guys together, and I just love the court. So it's you know, feel very lucky. I don't know how we got to 9. It seems like a lifetime ago, but just trying to take each year as it comes.
No, absolutely. It seems barely 9 years ago then you sort of exploded onto the scene, but the facts don't lie, as it were. There have been numerous occasions during this match where they've sort of the point has fallen in one player's direction, and they've just sort of smiled at each other like they're keeping a separate sort of separate chit of what's going on here. So.
Incredible number of openings with these two. You know, Chappie's control into the winning gallery today, and this whole tournament has just been very impressive to see, just on that open ball. And you know, you get so much confidence when you start to make those shots, and it's really showing in his game. And Rob's doing an amazing job of battling back against that. You know, it's what he's done his entire career, is just, regardless of how it's going or the stats or anything, he just finds a way to put you under pressure and fight his way back into matches. So it's great to see these guys playing so well.
So from your point of view, you would describe as Chappers as being the aggressor in this match, and Rob being a little bit more, what should we say, reactionary to what Chappers is doing rather than the other way around.
I would say so. I think Chappers is trying to force the point. He's trying to force Rob into doing what he wants to do. And on his home court, you know, he's going to have a certain level of comfort that Rob's not. So it's a good opportunity to take advantage of that. Rob doesn't like being pushed around. He wants to be in control. And, you know, you see this ebb and flow of the guys trying to battle back and maintain control. And, you know, it can change point by point. It can last a game. But, you know, you really do see that where, you know, Chappie tries to control a game for... Yeah, it's 10 minutes, and then Rob's back in control for 10 minutes, and it's really, that's why it's so close in the score line. It's just because they're battling back and forth one game at a time, and it's only going to be, you know, 1 to 2 games that really differentiate the winner and the loser in a set.
I think that's a good point. It's almost like the effort of trying to be in command is the thing that sort of forces them to drop off after that 10 or 15 minute sort of section. And in terms of your game, Camden, I mean, so much is made of your retrieving ability, which is there are too many superlatives that there aren't enough superlatives, should I say, for describing how brilliant you are in that respect. But that's one thing, but presumably you are looking to be aggressive in from time to time in a judicious way. What would, that's not really a fully formed question, I know, but how would you describe your game now in terms of what it was before, and in terms of what you're looking to do from that moment you get on court? 3 games all, by the way.
I would say for most of my career, I was definitely considered a retriever, 100% retriever. So very little offense, pure retrieving ability, grinding opponents down, and great shot. Working it that way, relying on fitness. I would like to think that nowadays I consider myself more of a counter puncher, where I take advantage of things like speed and time to put you off balance and to open the court up and I don't hit openings necessarily like everybody else does, but I hit winners in a sense by opening the court up. And there are days when I come out and hit lots of openings, and I love those days. The only reason I don't do it every day is just because I can't.
Well, I think that's self-deprecating, but one has to play in a way that is comfortable yourself. There's no point to me going out there and saying I'm going to play like Camden today, because it won't work. And there's no point in any other person saying I'm going to go out and play like Rob today. So, but
and that's where I think Chappie's. The reason Chris has gotten so much better over the last couple of years is because he's really come into his own. There's no right or wrong way to play real tennis. There's your way, and you have to get as good as you can at your way. And Chris has done a great job in the last couple of years of saying, forget what everybody else says, forget trying to play like Rob, which he did for a long time. Forget listening to other people, which you should listen, but you got to take it with a grain of salt and say, what am I good at, and what do I want to do out here? And it doesn't matter what it is, as long as you turn around and say, I'm going to be the best that there is at this. And he's really come into his own in that, and you can see it in his game. That's why he's doing so much better against the top guys. Reaching that ranking of number 3 is because he's comfortable with how he's playing, because it's his style now. He's kind of creating his own style out there.
I think you're bang on the money there, Camden. I was mentioning earlier in commentary, I was by myself actually, that when Chappers burst on the scene, he laced the ball around at every opportunity, and people said, no, you need to cut the ball more. And then, of course, he went too far the other direction, where he was cutting the ball. And I think now in the last couple of years, as you say, he's arrived at that happy medium, and also has played with that kind of that mindset for long enough that he's now confident in what he's doing to take it out in the court and perform with it.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, you're seeing it here today. The reason he's able to push Rob around is because he's not playing the traditional style of tennis that Rob wants to play. He does work the floor, right? But he's also very powerful. He uses the angles differently than a lot of guys. He brings out the boast a lot. He plays to his strengths coming from squash. And you're seeing that it's opening up the court a lot. It's making it very hard on Rob. He's being, equally as offensive on that first ball, but in a very different way than most pros would be. And it's great because it's playing into his strengths and his ability. And we're seeing the results of it this tournament for sure.
Yeah, and I don't think I predicted Chappers at the beginning of this match, and I'm feeling pretty happy with my 20p's stake on that.
I will say, as well as he's playing, Rob's doing a great job of staying in this match and coming up with shots like that. And this is going to be a bit of a test for Chris as this match goes on, especially in this 4th set, because you have the 2 sets lead. There's a chance Rob rolls over, but very unlikely. And now he's fought back into that, won that 3rd set. He's got momentum. He's keeping pace with you now. And so what's gonna put you across the line now from this point? Because the rest of it is irrelevant. It's happened. What happened in the 1st set, the way you were playing, the way he was playing, none of that matters anymore. And it's going to be a good gut check for Chris to say, what do I have to do now? Can I come up with the answer now? And I'm really looking forward to seeing the rest of this set, because I think it'll answer a lot of questions that I have about both Rob and Chris in this tournament and where their heads are at.
I was saying earlier also that I'm talking to the world number 1 Camden Riviere, who's into the final of this Real Tennis Champions Trophy 2018, having beaten Ben Matthews in 4 probably tighter sets than he'd hoped for, but then we stand at 2-1 to Chris Chapman. But I was saying that if Chapman thinks that he's got some breathing room with even just a 1 or 2 set advantage, the last thing that the last person pretty much besides yourself that you want to see in your rearview mirror is the man who's on court opposing him right now.
Especially having won that 3rd set. The fact that Rob battled back in that 3rd and took it the way he did shows that he's interested in this match and that he wants to win. You know, it's very easy to give up from 2 sets to love down, and so that's a scary thought. When Rob's up for it, that's the last thing you want.
Tell me, Cam, I'm probably being horribly remiss here. Did you win? You won a European Open that was played at Lord's, did you?
Yeah, I think I won a few of them.
No, the only reason I mention it, well, not to cut you off, but the only reason I mention it is because I'm pretty sure that this is the only tournament that's been in existence whilst Rob's been playing that he hasn't won. So I think that will create a little bit of interest for him at least.
That's a fun stat. I didn't realize that. Oh no! What's just happened there?
He hit the ball in the net, Cam. That's what I'm there. That loses your point.
I don't understand. That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about that. But I'll be honest. When you've won 49 Opens and like over 100 singles titles, I don't think you can.
They all still matter.
They do, but I think they matter a little bit less. I'm sure, obviously, Rob would love to win this, but it's tough. It's tough to get out there every day. I have incredible admiration for Rob for getting out here like he does at his age and the way he plays and the kind of still mental strength that he has to go out there and compete when you've done it all on multiple times. To still rally and come out and play these young guys and hold your own and beat most of them, if not all of them. It's incredible to see. I can promise you right now, I will not be playing this game when I'm 50. Especially not at anywhere near this level.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Absolutely. So exciting times in South Carolina with the Earth being moved and with the intention of a court. It all seems very positive and going to go ahead. Is that tell us what you know, Cam.
Shot. That's because everything's looking very good at the moment. The plan is to break ground in January, with the court being open by the end of the year. It's been, an incredible effort by the committee, Craig Van Schack and Charles DeCastasia, doing fundraising, and I mean, it's been 7-8 years now that I've been on the project with them, and they've done such an amazing job, and Daniel Island's been so on board and supportive of it, which has just made it that much more pleasant, because it's an incredible club, but just to know that they want it as much as you do has really helped. I have no doubt that it's going to happen, and no doubt that it's going to be, I think, the best club in the U.S., if not the world. So I just cannot wait. Oh. Pretty sure I'm seeing a bit of a smile from Rob during this point. Oh, it's amazing retrieving. Oh,
that's a sensation. I don't think you're wrong there. I think there was a throwback to childhood of when just playing a game where you're hitting a ball and enjoying doing that in that point. Mind, we have to remind ourselves that Rob really didn't start playing until he was 17 or 18. So
I was already 15 years in at that point. Wow. Nice little vintage Rob Fahey point there. Just a little bit loose serve, and he just takes full advantage, slots it in the date on. I've been seeing that for 25 years now.
Monotonous. So you grace our lands again after the French Open. I presume you were going to play the French Open and then for the IRTPA Championships in Leamington. Am I putting you on the spot there?
No. I'm definitely planning on playing the IRTPA. I had an absolutely amazing time at Leamington last year. I think it's such a beautiful city and club. Ooh. Oh!
That is a gold leaf racket I don't think it's supposed to be in two pieces. Typically it works a little bit better in my experience if it's in one piece.
I don't know though. Wayne Davies might disagree with you there. He's played with a racket about that size, and to win an Open he'll tell you. But no, that definitely doesn't seem like it was the intention. I'm going to go ahead and say that was a super old racket, probably his fourth string, and it was his coaching racket that he just brought out for the match.
I think that was a fat boast attempt off the main wall, which went slightly awry. To be fair, I've done that with various different brands of rackets.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, a wooden racket, slate court, heavy ball, bad things happen.
Now, did you see the behind the back boast off the service wall off the full-blooded force from? So Chap has hit the shot. I was trying to work with our tech team for people to be able to go directly to that point on the feed, but alas, it's end of the first set, folks. If you all know, full-blooded force from Rob, backhand behind the back volley from Chappers went in.
I did not see that. That's impressive, though. That's definitely one for the highlight reel.
Not a shot that I'd be sort of volunteering to practice with.
No, I don't think many of the shots we do out there are practice. To be honest, I think a lot of them just happen by happenstance. Oh.
And that sounded bad on Chapper's rackets, but it's him just jamming it into the floor and look at that racket underneath it.
It's a big game, this 4-all, 15-all, one hazard pending. You know, there's just not much separating these two at the moment. I think if Chappie can just keep it tight, you know, good point like that, good serve, don't do too much with the second ball. I think it's his for the taking here, but he's got to keep the errors down and play within reason. You know, there's that feeling sometimes when at the end of the set you have to do more, and you really don't. You just have to stick with what's been working. Great serve, great return. Oh.
No, I think you're right there, and I think it's a crucial moment in both in matches and in careers of up and comers, as it were. That recognition that I get that my adrenaline level is higher than it was, but I'm looking to replicate the same sort of modest stuff rather than sort of go out there and win it type approach.
Oh, very much so. But that's that's one of the things that Chappie's kind of done well in the last couple of years, is coming into his own, is not overdoing it, understanding what it takes to win crucial points in big games. So I think he'll be fine in this situation.
One thing I note with your game, Camden, is maybe it's a function of the way you play the game, which. World number one nearly was defaulted from the match tomorrow with the one of the hallmarks of your game, I find, is that whether I'm watching on feed or what have you, you seem to be a bit 3-love in the first set before I've even really sort of expanded the box to full screen and or sort of started paying attention to the score. And also, at the beginning of each new set, you seem to be right there. You don't give yourself or allow yourself a moment of kind of like, well, it's a new set. We'll see how the story develops type thing. Is that something you consciously think about, or is just there within your game? I know. Sorry, I'm destroying you're just enjoying the game by that.
Sorry, that was just such a good rally. I think it's important to always, every game's important, but the start and the finish of the sets are the most crucial. That's really, at the end of the day, what wins and loses you matches. You're seeing that here. Now, regardless of how they started, the fact of the matter is Chappie's 5-4 up, right? So now it's the time to focus, right? If you can get an early lead, if you win the first 3 games and then you get yourself momentum, then you're giving yourself a good edge. But at the same time, it's the closing out of these sets that's so important, And that's what we're seeing, I think, right here, right now, is Chappie is really putting Rob under a ton of pressure at 5-4 up. Ooh.
I think we all sort of. It's a great point. You know, both Chapman doing what he wanted, sort of commanded the point, regardless of the fact that he lost it. No, but I hear what you're saying. I feel that we all concentrate well towards the end of a set when we feel there's more at stake. But what I guess the compliment to you is that you seem to win a set almost before the other guy has woken up to the fact that he's playing that set.
Oh, there it is.
They were talking over there, and there was a great game there from the hazard end for Chapman to seal it from 4-all. Gracious loss. Deep breath there. Very congratulations, Chris Chapman there. So, Camden, your opponent. We know your opponent tomorrow. He needs to get himself some rackets.
Luckily I've got some he can borrow.
A lot of 6-4s there. Don't tell me he's going to put on a heinous orange shirt, is he? Anyway, Camden, many thanks for your thoughts. Best of luck tomorrow, if you need it. And well, we look forward to having you and anybody who is listening today back for the final tomorrow midday. Camden Riviere world number 1 versus Chris Chapman world number 3 in the final of the Real Tennis Champions Trophy for 2018, sponsored by Mitsubishi Electric, Gold Leaf Athletic and Historic Royal Palaces. Thank you folks for listening. Cheers. Good evening to you.